Yes, Reds, welcome back to the COP TV press conference reaction time. Our manager, Arne, the Premier League winning manager, has been speaking to the press this morning. Let's get a detailed analysis, question by question, answer by answer, and work out what he's trying to say. A lot of rival fans have already jumped on the fact that Arne today revealed how many long balls Liverpool have faced this season, which is the most out of any team in the Premier League. And a lot of rival fans are loving him, using excuses, they say. But I say he's being very refreshingly honest, and he face up the question always with an honest answer, whether people like it or not. And in my opinion, that's always a good thing. So smash that like button, get your comments in. How do you think Arne dealt with the media today? And subscribe to the COP TV if you haven't already. The first question that he was asked was on the injury update for Isak Frimpong and Alisson. He said that Jeremy Frimpong is not in a good way. Alex will be checked to see if he can make it for the weekend. It looks unlikely though, as well as Ryan Gravenberch. They all look to be missing this game tomorrow night away at the G-Tech. And obviously Alisson looks to be some time off yet. But I think to say that Jeremy Frimpong is not in a good way is always going to cause a few headaches. I think... yes, he's been so unlucky with the injuries. Probably not in a good place mentally or physically right now, Jeremy Frimpong. And I think that has to be understood. You know, it's not his fault he got injured. Whose fault is it? We don't know. Really, you can't blame anyone. But it looks like Conor Bradley is going to be starting from now on, really. Unless Joe Gomez, unless Dominic Szoboszlai fill in at right back. It does look like Conor Bradley is going to be the guy at right back for at least the next few weeks. There were his first answers, and then Florian Wirtz straight onto him. Liverpool fans, of course, we've been a little bit frustrated with the output that we've seen from Florian Wirtz so far. But he did say that Liverpool fans have liked his play in general. He plays a general good game. Obviously, he got 2 assists the other night against Frankfurt. And he said that so far this season, in both games, he's created the same amount of chances against Manchester United and Frankfurt. I think against United, Florian Wirtz was on the pitch for 28 minutes and he created 3 chances, which was more than any other player on the pitch. And I think I speak, or I hope I do, for Liverpool fans now in the way that I think Florian Wirtz should be starting every game. Not just because of the price tag, but I think we definitely saw a bigger glimpse of what he can do creatively in between the lines, assists. He was in a great position to score a couple of goals on Wednesday night as well. Yes, Frankfurt were heavily open. They allowed Liverpool to quite easily, especially in the second half, play through the lines and catch them out with a very high line. But on integrating new signings, he said it's not only about the new signings, but it's about having very good players and what is your best lineup. It's about the form of the players, which again is something that the fans have been calling for. Play the players in form. The connection between the players and the teams you face. If you look at all the big clubs in the world, they all have more than 11 players that can play. And I think that's interesting because he's almost saying to the press he actually doesn't know or doesn't want to reveal anyway in his mind, his best starting 11. I think this is one thing that's been thrown at Liverpool and Arne Slot this season is, well, there's been so many changes, in form, out of form players that have, even the out of form players that have managed to stay in the team. But I think what he's trying to say there is, look, across this season, we're going to have a lot of different lineups. We've brought a lot of new players in who need to integrate, of course. But yeah, he doesn't necessarily have a best 11 on paper, right? His point there is a lot of the top teams can play way more than 11 players in their setup to make sure that they win games, and that's what Liverpool have got to do now. On the turbulence expected this season, he says, especially after many changes in the summer, the team needed to grow and adapt to each other. He also noted that the fixture list hasn't helped, as amongst the 4 consecutive losses, 3 of them were away. He's then kind of joked that he looked at the fixture list after that and he saw, oh, wow, Frankfurt away and now Brentford away. So in the last 6 games that Liverpool have played, 5 of them have been away. Make of that what you will. And this was the most interesting part of the press conference for me. He came out and said, look, the last 2 times we faced a 5-4-1 against Palace and United, we have created more chances than we did every single time we faced a 5-4-1 last season, a low block. The reason for that is we tried to adjust a few things in our playing style, and against Frankfurt we again faced a 5-4-1 where I adjusted maybe even more. He also mentioned that without Ryan Gravenberch, Curtis Jones and Dominic Szoboszlai just dropped a little bit deeper to get that control to play through Curtis and Dom. That's why Curtis got so many touches of the ball in the game. But he then went on to say that's not to say that was the reason we created so much, because we already created so much against Palace and United as well. I mean, the Palace one, I can't really say that we created loads of chances. If anything, we were very lucky not to go in at half-time, probably 4-0 down. But against United, yes, there was many chances made and many chances missed. We hit the post 3 times. Salah had a sitter. Gakpo had a sitter. On another day, we score 5 goals. So I think whilst the Liverpool team are creating chances, whoever's on the pitch, I don't think we should be overly worried about the chance creation, because eventually, as we saw, they all go in one game against Frankfurt. Now, again, could even argue that game should have been 5, 6, 7, 8-0. It was 5-0, you know what I mean? But he didn't. He also mentioned how many long balls Liverpool faced this season. I think it was 176, which is more than any team in the Premier League. Now, he's not. This is where the rival fans have kind of jumped on the bandwagon. He's not using that as an excuse. He's simply saying the facts. And actually, Jamie Carragher pointed out a very good point in Monday Night Football, where he said Dutch managers are refreshingly very honest. We all remember, Ruud Gullit when he came in, how honest he was about dropping Alan Shearer for Newcastle. I remember Louis van Gaal talking about Czech-masochism in one of his press conferences. They're very honest. And if you ask him a question, how they were beaten, then he's actually telling you the tactics of the opposing manager, which is a compliment. He's explaining how they were beaten. I think for Liverpool fans, what we'd like to see a little bit more of is less focus on how a team beaten us and more focus on how we're going to beat that team, right? We have to adapt. He's clearly said that he's made some changes, especially in the Champions League on Wednesday. But he's just being very honest. He's actually paying the opposition manager a compliment because we've been losing so many games. Now, flip that on the other foot. When he wins a game in a press conference, he could say, we attacked their fullbacks. We knew there was going to be space in behind, which he said very much already. Do you remember how honest he was when we beat Manchester United 3-0? He's simply just saying what he sees. And again, maybe Jurgen Klopp was a little bit more emotional in his answers, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But Arne Slot, for me, is very honest, to the point, doesn't mess around. Yeah, and he'll say how we lost the game, and he'll also say how we won the game. But I think for Liverpool fans, we're tired of hearing how we lost the game. Yes, we know that long balls are going to be used against Liverpool. Yes, we know they're going to try and attack the fullbacks. Yes, we know all of the little intricacies, the weaknesses that opposition teams use against us. But I think we've heard enough of that, and it's now time for our team to go out there and show our tactical prowess and visibly show how we can beat teams ourselves instead of getting beaten. But again, very honest. You can't really criticise Slot for bringing out the facts, the figures. These are facts and figures. They're not, emotional kind of tirades. They're not dialogues and monologues where you go, oh, what is he talking about? It is factual, but it's down to him as the head coach to find a way. I think that's the key phrase that I'm going to take away from this press conference. Arne Slot now has to find a way to go and beat Brentford, who again will be pumping long balls over the top for Igor Thiago. We already saw how Jordan Henderson, against Manchester United exploited that high line, and they play in behind. Very physical team as well. So it's now, and he knows this, he doesn't need me sitting here. You guys at home know this. We just need to find a new way, right? And doesn't look like Ryan Gravenberch is going to be fit. Doesn't look like Isak, Frimpong or Alisson are going to be fit. So it's about using the players we have got. A Dominic, a Curtis, got Endo there who can play a CDM. I'd love to see Stefan Bajcetic get a few minutes. There's even talks about Freddie Woodman playing in the Cup on Wednesday against Palace, which again is going to be another really tough game to a team that we've already lost twice to this season. So he's spoken quite vocally about the opposition using long balls against us, which is true. But let's find another way to deal with combating those long balls. Can we stop the source? That's what Liverpool need to do, in my opinion. He also spoke about how great Curtis Jones has been recently. He knows how good he can be. So it was good to see that coming through against Frankfurt when he did get his chance. And how confident, by the way, was Curtis Jones when he was talking about how, he wanted to have the ball played through him. He wanted to have as many touches as possible, and we saw that. And he also spoke about Salah struggling to score. Listen, we know Salah on and off the pitch has been struggling at the minute. We also know that he will come back to form. There's no doubt about that. One thing you can never do with Mohamed Salah is write him off. Write him off at your peril. You know, I was on DR yesterday and they said, is he done? Well, we've said that before, and he's come back and scored 30 goals in a season. So I think the belief and the trust to know that Mo Salah will be back amongst the goals very soon is not within doubt. We know that. It's just about obviously, you know, supporting him and getting behind him, even if he is dropped on Saturday. Mo Salah is still top 2 Premier League players of all time for Liverpool. Let's never forget that. But he does say, oh, phone's ringing. Could be Arne Slot. Hello? No, it's not Arne Slot. Anyway, back to this. He after Curtis Jones and Mo Salah struggling to score. He again talks about the adaptations to tactics and how Liverpool are going to get through this game. Kelleher coming back to play against Liverpool at the G-Tech, as well as Jordan Henderson, Sepp van den Berg, Fabio Carvalho, 4 ex-Reds playing against Brentford at the weekend. And then again, why Kirkes is starting over Robertson. What's given him the edge? And he said, look, he's very defensively sound, Kirkes. He gets up and down a lot. That's why we brought him in. He says, I can tell you that he's bringing a lot of energy to the game. He keeps going up and down. And is obviously defensively very sound. He says he's very well in defending the one-on-one situations against the wingers as well. But he's been a little bit unlucky. You know, that Cody has been mainly used in his biggest strength of coming inside and hitting the target, but Kirkes obviously likes to overlap. So, yeah, a few comments made there from Arne Slot. It was a 20-minute press conference. And once again, just to round it off, he speaks quite glowingly about Florian Wirtz, his impact, talking about how, you know, he still did something very good in the United game. It wasn't his assist, it was Chiesa's, but we need to see more of that. And again, he says, you know, you want to focus on the positives when it comes to him. On how difficult it's been for him to settle on his best lineup this season. Again, he's talking about as a team you need to grow, and if you have to grow and adapt to each other, then you'll also have moments in the season where things are a little bit more difficult. And again, talks about how many away games Liverpool have had, which definitely hasn't helped. Let's be honest. You know, I know that when we went back to Anfield, we lost that game as well. It was a derby. Anything can happen. But yeah, 5 away games in 6 isn't an excuse. It's just facts from Arne Slot. He says on Mo Salah, I think it's been a difficult moment for us all. No one is used to losing. But when you lose once, if you lose twice, 3 or 4 times, that's when you need to get behind the player. Curtis Jones, he spoke glowingly about him, and again, his confidence that Mo Salah will be back on the score sheet very soon. And again, is there any changes to the squad that have had an impact on Salah's form? It's quite interesting. He did mention Trent. But he says, in general, for every player, if you have quite a few changes in your squad during the summer, everyone needs to find new connections again. And that normally goes like this a little bit. Mo is not an exception because he's also a human being like all the others. So it might have something to do with that. But yes, you've seen the same now and again. In an ideal world, you would play every single time with the same team, but it's not realistic, okay? And again, he talks about how it wasn't possible to do that with Jeremy Frimpong. He's been in and out of injuries a few times. Bradley's been in and out. McAllister's missed pre-season, and Isak. So I think it might be one of the reasons why we haven't been as consistent as we were last season. And one more on Queven Keller. He says, look, it's he's an exceptional goalkeeper. He did this for us for so many years, but it was time for him to start playing, as well as Jordan Henderson. And again, they say that Ajax are missing Jordan Henderson a lot right now. And again, talking about Milos Kerkez. But the main draw away, I think, is him reacting to the fact that teams like Manchester United, Frankfurt, Crystal Palace have used the long ball. But I think that's okay to mention that as a fact, and it is a fact. We've played more teams that use the long ball against us than any other team. I think against Manchester United it was 59 times. But now it's okay. If that's what they're going to do with the glow block, we're going to have to find a way to defeat them. So let me know what you thought about Arne Slot's press conference this morning at Anfield, at the AXA. And then don't forget, we're going to have instant match reaction videos for you straight after the game tomorrow to dissect the big fixture tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. 2 8 o'clock kickoffs in a row for Liverpool in the Premier League. Let's see how they get on. But that is your press conference reaction. Smash that like button. Get your thoughts and what did you think to what he said. Some facts in there, some figures. But what does he need to do to turn things around in the Premier League? And then subscribe to the Cop TV if you have not already. Loads of good stuff going on, including the podcast every single Monday with myself and Doyle. Take care. All the best.